And we start here. President Biden is going to address the nation this morning after speaking with President-elect Donald Trump yesterday on the phone.
Biden offering Trump a meeting at the White House to ensure a smooth transition as Vice President Harris concedes the election, but not the fight.
Peter Doocy is live at the White House. Hey, Peter, what is the president saying?
Good morning. Some Democrats are sad about Harris losing. Some Democrats are mad about Harris losing, and they're blaming Joe Biden. So even though he got himself out of the way months before anybody ever voted, a Harris campaign aide is quoted in Politico as saying, "We ran the best campaign we could considering Joe Biden was president," grumbled one Harris aide granted anonymity to speak freely. Joe Biden is the singular reason Kamala Harris and Democrats lost. Biden was told privately this summer that he had a 0% chance of beating Trump, but after that, Harris got a huge bounce when she joined the ticket, picked Tim Walz, and had a glitzy convention. And now campaign staff are getting an email from their boss, Jen O'Malley Dillon, that says, "I know the vice president isn't finished in this fight, and I know the very people on this email are also going to be leaders in this collective mission. View this as the beginning, not the end." That was the gist of the VP's remarks at Howard University yesterday that seemed somewhat hastily organized. An invite was texted to supporters just hours ahead of time, and NBC News is reporting the Harris team did not spend much time writing a concession. They thought her initial remarks were just going to be about keeping the faith during a days-long vote count.
While I concede this election, I do not concede the fight that fueled this campaign, the fight for freedom, for opportunity, for fairness, and the dignity of all people. That is a fight I will never give up.
And we don't know how exactly the vice president plans to keep up that fight as a private citizen come January. Back to you.
Hey, Peter, you mentioned that Donald Trump was invited by Joe Biden to go to the White House before the inauguration just to work things out. Did you see the lead of Drudge right now is the conservative publication National Review said they gave some advice to Joe Biden. Joe Biden should pardon Donald Trump of all the pending charges, relieves the special counsel Jack Smith of his duties, and then asks the New York governor to pardon Trump from crimes he was convicted in New York State. Is there any chance Joe Biden could actually pardon Donald Trump?
Well, if you listen, if you believe what the president has told us over the last few months, that would introduce the possibility that he could pardon Donald Trump and then not pardon his son and let Hunter go off and rot in jail. And so it's possible, but we have no indication that that's going to happen. I asked Biden about that a couple months ago, and he just kind of laughed about it and said, "That's a good question."
But you know, Peter, he could pardon Donald Trump, and then Donald Trump could pardon his son in January.
Yeah. Or, yes, it is possible.
It would be a pardon palooza, Peter.
Yes.
Hey, Peter, I have a prediction. You're going to get a sit down with President Biden before he leaves.
Oh, that would be great.
In the White House. That's my prediction. Would you accept his invitation?
Yes, I would accept an invitation to have a one-on-one interview with the president.
I'm going to call him right after the show.
And it sounds like I could just get like a preemptive pardon because everybody else seems to need one that talks to the president. Yeah. Just in case.
Just in case.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, pardon me.
It's from jaywalking or whatever. But Steve, I don't think he's going to need. I don't think they're going to need
He's
it.
never done anything wrong in his life, right?
Who, Peter?
Yeah.
Oh, I've got information.
I think it's totally unfair, though, of the Democrats to blame Joe Biden for all of this. First of all, y'all used him, and then when y'all didn't need to use him anymore, y'all got rid of him. Also, the whole plan of Joe Biden was for him to only serve one term.
Right.
That's what he said during the... But Kamala was so bad. She was so bad, so he could not pass the torch. And as we've seen since this election, why it was so bad.
Plus, there was pressure on him because they said he's the only one that was able to beat Donald Trump before.
Yeah.
Hey, but I will say this. I think there's that school of thought, yes. But I also think that he was drunk with success in the midterms. And he thought, the heck with this. We kept the Senate, and it took them 3 extra weeks to flip the House, which was supposed to be a rout. So there's no red wave. They like me. They really like me. Yeah. I'm staying. Well, just like Leo DiCaprio.
And other Democrats supported him, too, and to the debate performance.
Yeah, right. But ultimately, I think...
That's true, Brian.
I think he probably thought...
What movie?
You remember that movie?
I remember Titanic with him.
What was the movie, Wolf of Wall Street?
Oh, yeah.
When he's supposed to resign?
Yeah. And he
When he's
stood on
supposed to resign, he said,
I'm staying.
Wait a second, can we roll that clip?
Yeah, right. We'll let him grab it.
What did y'all think of the concession speech yesterday?
It wasn't a concession
much-
speech. Essentially,
yeah.
she said, I'm
gonna
not
keep
done fighting. But America took a vote on her fight and said, no, thank you. What's interesting about, as we talk a little bit about the blame game, there are a number of stories this morning that the people in Biden world, the people who told Joe Biden that he should stay in it and encouraged him to run a second term, even though he had not achieved the stratospheric legacy of FDR, which they told him he would do, is the people around Joe Biden are blaming Nancy Pelosi. And they say he could have won the white working class voters, Harris ceded to Donald Trump. And to Joe Biden, having essentially Nancy squeeze him out was like when Barack Obama in 2016 said, Joe, sit down. I'm picking, what's her name?
They should have.
Hillary Rodham Clinton instead to run as my successor.
They should have looked back and remembered that she was the first one that had to drop out of the race when she ran before. America did not want her.
But it's still not getting her attention. Essentially, the concession speech was the start of the resistance movement.
Right.
I mean, before he's even been sworn in, she's made it very clear, even though the country rejected whatever agenda that the staff wrote, because we never heard from her about policy. There was not an economic policy. There was not a border policy. There was all these flip-flops that the staff communicated, not her. She still says that we're going to resist.
Several things when you watch the concession speech. First of all, she waited until 4 o'clock in the afternoon to do it, which I understand if she wants to wait till the next morning, fine. But to wait until later the next day in the afternoon, I just didn't think that was the right move. And then when you do hear it, she talks about, I'm not giving up the fight, A, and B, she said, this time it will be an easy transition of power or something like that, like throwing it in Trump's face from before.
I expected it. I did expect that. But what I thought was I had a great conversation with the former president.
I wish him all the best.
That would be good. That would be classy.
Do you think there might be a cease and desist, at least in the short term, from all of them? Like, you would not be surprised if Donald Trump does an interview tomorrow, if he doesn't go out and say she's terrible vice president, he doesn't say, Joe Biden's mind is melting down. I think that there might be a cease and desist. And I know so many times President Trump, when Meghan McCain and he was sparring, he would not go back at Meghan McCain. Yeah. He said, I didn't touch Michelle Obama on purpose. He does hold back from certain people.
Well, after the fight
and the Bushes, too, he doesn't really bring it
And he won.
And he won. And that's the deal. You know how he says it. It's like a UFC fight. You beat the hell out of each other. Right. There's blood everywhere. Yada, I know it's more than television. But then after that, you hug it out and you move forward. And I think even when you had Eric Trump that was on last night, when he was asked about the concession speech, he wanted to move on. He did not want to talk about Kamala Harris. I think that is the viewpoint of the former president.
And what you said a moment ago, talking about this is the beginning of the resistance against Donald Trump, I think you're right. And that goes back full circle to what I had quoted from the Conservative National Review. What they say is, after Joe Biden pardons Donald Trump deserves to enter the term in January of 2025 with a slate wiped clean of the controversies of the previous era. And it would ultimately be good for Joe Biden's legacy because then it will make him appear like he is a uniter. Let's go forward. It's never going to happen,
but the cases
it would
are
be
going
classy.
away. Jack Smith's already going. He's getting rid of all the cases. The only thing left is the New York sentencing. And what I can't see that I don't know if the President of the United States can touch a New York story. If you saw Letitia James with her bizarre press conference yesterday,
he would have to go to the governor.
Right.
All right, we'll hear more. We're going to talk more about that in a little bit.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.